the community leaders or the religious figure, if they fail to mediate among the parties, then the king has to intervene. So you might know that long before we have the monarchy, we had institutionalized monarchy in our governance system. So at a time when the community leaders or the religious figures, if they cannot resolve the disputes, then only the disputes will be brought like before uh, the God. Hmm? So king intervened only when the reconciliation failed. So I think now you might have the actual figure of how come this history of mediation actually moves forward along with the community leaders and also the role of king out here back then. And now I'll move back into the 1768 AD. So you can also note it down the dates. And no worries because I'm going to provide you all the information that I have dictated. So 1768 AD was the AD where the people actually emphasize on the dharma. So dharma means the righteousness. So in Nepali, righteousness is pronounced as dharma. So what actually in 1768 AD, what Nepal moved along is with regards to the dispute resolution that emphasize righteousness rather than punishment. So they believe in, telling people and emphasizing that, okay, with the compromise and apology. For example, so we have many participants out here today that you are having the session on the history of mediation. So just imagine the scenario whereby two of your participants, they get along in a fight. So they were like arguing and then talking about many things. So now as a mediator, what you would have done in that particular scenario. So see, in 1768 AD, if such matters come across, then definitely they were actually believing in emphasizing on the righteousness rather than punishment. That means they want to compromise and then apology. That means they were actually preferred rather than coercive penalties. So what is the rationale between that? So you might ask me a question like, what if like that person, even after apology or compromise, they started to again argue and then commit different like disputes and among the parties itself, what is going to be what is going to be the consequence. So in 1768 AD, the kings actually acted as the guardians of justice. They were not the primary adjudicators, but like the king, everybody fear like okay, the king. That means the head of the governance system. They actually also believe that compromise and apology were actually preferred because that was for the peaceful settlement of dispute via mediation. But having said this, still the mediation role was given to the community leaders, who could actually like intervene in that situation and then mediate in a very peaceful manner. So importantly, if you have to remember the statement, then that was like justice was restorative rather than retributive. So you might have studied that regarding the restorative and retributive justice. So I'll not go much on this, but you need to memorize while understanding the history of mediation is that uh, the mediation actually preferred the restorative justice rather than the retributive justice. So I'll just give you a brief glance on what actually the retributive justice actually means. So this retributive justice means where the punishment is very brutal. So if you commit some crime, then for example, if you steal something, then like your hand will be cut off. That was the kind of punishment that was actually held during the retributive justice, which was very brutal. But the mediation was the only mechanism which actually prioritized justice being restorative. That means they said that okay, every parties need a chance to reconcile among each other, to mediate among each other, to know the actual cause of the dispute, and then to settle down in a very peaceful manner. So settlement of disputes in a peaceful manner was actually the theory of restoring the justice in a very, serene and peaceful manner. So, dear participant, now coming back to this particular important things about mediation itself. We all believe that this early philosophy, it laid the moral foundation for mediation as a legitimate form of justice in Nepal even today. And if you see in Bangladesh also and other South Asian countries, this particular important moral philosophy engraved in underlining the justice principles, it has been actually considered as a legitimate form of justice in the context of Nepal. Now, moving on, this is very interesting, and please, know that. Please remember that I am telling you a story regarding the ancient era of Nepal, so that will definitely make you energize and then like listen very attentively regarding the historical mediation approach. So now coming back to the 1854 AD. So in 1854 AD, like in 1854 AD, Nepal started, promulgation of different statutes. So among them, national code, or in Nepali we call it as Muliki Ain. So Muliki Ain, if I have to translate it into English, then it means Muluk means nation, Ain means statute. So national code was there. So now, slowly and gradually, with the unification of Nepal under the king Prithvi Narayan Shah, you might have heard about this legendary figure. In Nepal, is very famous because he actually led the unification in the context of Nepal. So now, the centralization of governance and the unification of government actually brought about not abandonment of the local mediation, but actually incorporation of mediation for the first time in the history of Nepal. So, as I already stated, this particular document is very, very important. That is the Muliki Ain, and this Muliki Ain has been a landmark in the South Asian legal history. Because why it is remarkable, now I like to jot down the important points that you need to memorize while coming back. So, this Muliki Ain suggested that now the dispute must be settled in a very compromised manner. So, not every disputes, all the criminal disputes, but many civil and the family disputes. Now, I would like you to pause here and think about the important civil and family disputes. So, after my session, you might think about the important prospects of civil and family disputes that arise in your society. So think about it and then try to, exercise among yourself that how to resolve this, family and the civil disputes before reaching in the formal adjudication, that is the court. So you as a mediator, you can practice and then think about different, civil and family disputes that comes along. So now see, even during a hierarchical legal system, the social reconciliation remained a priority. Now, dear my participants, also note down this term social reconciliation because this term is very, very important. And now this, like Harvard Law Journal and other important journal has actually emphasized and also published so many articles on this social reconciliation even now, because now people think that court is only the last resort where disputes can be handled. But that's not only the last resort, because now the social reconciliation concept has been emerged, because in modern context, if you see and look up in your courts, In everybody's court, you see the many backlog cases, like very, piles of cases. So that actually take like years and years to actually like resettle those disputes. Sometimes it becomes very hectic for even the parties to, going court every day and then taking dates upon dates, remand and everything. So that is why there was the early recognition um, that now I would like to write, listen it very carefully, because this is one of the important statements that you need to know. That means formal adjudication of justice like courts alone cannot deliver social justice, and that is very true, because um, definitely it's very right, because the court only cannot deliver social justice. Sometimes the mediation come into the play, sometimes the arbitration come into the play, sometimes the reconciliation come into the play. And while talking about mediation itself, the mediation is adjured with the concept of social reconciliation. So I want you to memorize this term, that is social reconciliation. And I hope you wrote it down. So moving forward, now Nepal come along with the democratic transition. So that means in 1950s, that means 1950 AD, and post that, Nepal actually come along with the democratic transition and then the rise of formal courts. So before this, the mediation was the only medium, the formal actor that actually look upon the cases and try to resolve the disputes in a peaceful manner. But post 1950, when there was the democratic transition and the rise of the formal courts, they actually, now prevented and now look upon these important three dimensions to protect the mediation in the context of Nepal. And the first one is the democratic aspiration. And why democratic aspiration is that the foundation of government becomes the aspiration of democratic aspiration. And the second one is the expansion of modern courts. And the third one is the codified procedures inspired by the common law tradition. So now, the important point that you need to understand is that even while drafting or while codifying the different laws and the codes and the procedures, also the common law tradition, this actually the concept of mediation was there, and they used to have incorporated the democratic aspirations in terms of the mediation, because while strengthening the rule of law, the different scenario come into the play. For example, the case backlogs, the procedural delays, and also the distance between the justice and the ordinary people. So sometimes what the courts forget is that there are also some system whereby the justice and the connection of justice with the ordinary people is lacking. Why? Because of the marginalization. And the marginalization can be seen in every part of the world, and those marginalized people are not actually taken into account while coming back to delivering the true justice. So that is why, my dear ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that why this traditional dispute mechanisms actually frame an important background for the true justice delivery in the civil disputes or the family disputes that come into foreplay while coming back to the informal overshadowing litigation by the courts. So having said that, my urge to you people is that do not only, while talking about mediation or ADR, not only always regards mediation as informal. They are not the informal settlement of disputes, because now the laws have recognized it as a formal, like the quick dispute adjudication methods. And that has been actually help in restoring the relationship among the parties, and there is like every parties feels like, and also feels like, okay, I have win this case, I won